Applying for dual citizenship? Need documents translated? Istituto Mondo Italiano provides certified translation and interpretation services in 20 different languages. Be sure to visit us at www.istitutomondoitaliano.org. Well, we're so very excited to have our next guest, Pittsburgh Steelers legend Franco Harris. Franco was born in Fort Dix, New Jersey, the son of an American soldier from Mississippi stationed in Italy during World War II, and his Italian mother from Pisa. He graduated from Penn State with a degree in hotel, hospitality, and food. He was selected by the Steelers in the first round, and in his first NFL season, he became only the fourth rookie in NFL history to rush for more than 1,000 yards. Franco is most remembered for probably the most famous play in football, his amazing catch of the Immaculate reception pass from quarterback Terry Bradshaw that gave the Steelers a 13-7 win over the Oakland Raiders in the Steelers' first ever playoff victory. He was named to 9 Pro Bowls, played in 5 AFC championships, and has 4 Super Bowl rings. He was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1990. A fan favorite, Franco is adored by his Italian-American fan base, known as Franco's Italian Army. And we are pleased and honored to welcome Franco to our program. Hello, Franco. Welcome, welcome.
Hello. I am very impressed. Wow. Didn't know you had that much history on me, that much information.
We do our research. More will come through this interview. And our listeners and Steelers fans all over are so excited and tuned in for this conversation that we have. We will have with you. And, we always, in the Italian Radio Hour, we have to talk about your connection to Italy. So our curiosity is, with your mom from Italy and your dad from Mississippi, what role models or stories from each of your parents do you remember most fondly?
Well, before we even get to that, did you know that there is a Steelers bar in Rome?
Yes, Giovanni Poggi is my dear friend.
Yes. So you know about that.
Yes, and the Asciugamano Terribile. Yes, the terrible towel with the Colosseum on it. Absolutely.
Yes, I have been there, and it's wonderful that you know about it.
Oh, it's famous. We visited it several times.
It's a Steelers nation. Wherever you go, it's all about Steelers.
Yes. You mentioned about my mother, and her name was Gina Penenti, and she was born in Pietrasanta, and raised more in the Pisa Lucca area, and like as you mentioned, during World War II, those were some tough years in Italy. If you've ever interviewed anybody else from the war, you know there were some tough years. And she met my dad. They fell in love and got married in Pisa. And I've been to that church that they were married in, and they came back to the States and had 9 children. And when you think about it, you think, wow, how tough is that to come to a new country, not knowing the country really, not knowing the language, and making a new life for yourself.
Did your father speak any Italian? Did he learn Italian while he was in Italy? And when you were growing up, what was the language that was spoken at home? Was it Italian or English?
Well, the language was English, and we asked our mom, many times about that, and she just, felt that she was continually learning English, and she didn't speak Italian to us, and it's interesting because right at that time, she was feeling that people in America did not want to hear a foreign language. And this is, I guess especially after World War II. And like my dad really didn't speak Italian, but when I look back, it's something that we missed out on growing up, where she didn't speak Italian to us.
Did you grow up in a multicultural household, or was it pretty much you had the typical American childhood, whatever that is?
Well, most of the people that we grew up around with when I was younger were military families, and like a number of them were World War II veterans, World War II Army veterans, and World War II Air Force veterans. And a lot of the veterans were married to European and Asian women. So the European women were Italian, German, and French, and the Asian were Japan and Filipino. And so all the kids were basically biracial, and a number of them, because they were military, would be transferred out. So through the years, different kids and different families would be moving because of the military, the Army and Air Force, moving families. What was interesting is our family never moved. We were the only stable family that basically stayed in the neighborhood.
So you stayed in New Jersey then?
But it was a very interesting mixture of people. It really was.
And your mom did...
Now we're going to fast forward a little bit at the beginning of your career. We're talking about 1972, where you got drafted, and the Steelers were not, the same team that we are accustomed to. It's maybe not a great team. So how was your first reaction when you got drafted?
Oh, I did not want to be drafted by the Steelers, and did not know much about them. And what is interesting is I didn't think that I would play pro football. It was not part of my plans when I went to Penn State. And when I was at Penn State, I played under the great coach and mentor Joe Paterno. And it's interesting. So being recruited, most of the time, a way to get to the son is through the mother. right?
Mm-hmm.
So if any college had an Italian coach on their coaching staff, that's who they would send to my house. And the coach from Michigan was trying to tell my mom, no, Joe Paterno's not Italian, he's Puerto Rican.
Oh my goodness.
and you know, so, but like my mother spoke very broken English, right? And so, she said, Mr. Paterno, he'll bring me the biggest box of chocolate. And I said, well, guess I know where I'm going.
When you moved to Pittsburgh, what do you think about the city? What was Pittsburgh back then?
Well, being a rookie, young guy just leaving college, coming to Pittsburgh, I was quite surprised. The city was, I guess, more impressive, better than I thought. And I guess I have to say that eventually my rookie year just went incredible. And and just some things just started to happen with me playing. Things really started to go well for me. I was producing, doing some good things on the field, and then, as you mentioned earlier, some other things started to happen off the field that made it exciting. So here it is, we're winning games, right? Because the Steelers, they just, never had winning seasons or that many winning seasons. And all of a sudden we're winning. And there's all this excitement going on in Pittsburgh. Fans are, starting to notice the team, and so a bunch of Italian guys were having dinner one night, and like they were talking, and they were saying, "Hey, the Steelers are really starting to play well," and so they said, "How can we get the fans going? What do we need to do to get this city moving and getting behind this team?" And one guy said, "That would take an army to get these people going." And then someone said, "Well, you know what? There's this kid, Franco. He's half Italian. What if we start Franco's Italian Army and get these fans going?" And so Tony Stagno and Al Vento, came to meet with me and talked about that, and I said, "That's great. Let's do it." And so they started Franco's Italian Army, and wow, was that great! You talk about something that really set the stage and set the foundation for Steelers Nation of what was to come. I feel the greatest nation in football today.
So you think it was Franco's Italian Army that really was the spark for the Steeler Nation trend that we see here in Pittsburgh. So
well, Steelers Nation, as we talked about, is all over the world.
Right. There's Steeler bars everywhere.
And Franco's Italian Army was incredible. And,
did you know most of those guys personally?
Well, I just met them, just during that time, and I sure got to know them, and but it was just unbelievable, and an unbelievable, just enthusiasm and what these guys did to just to get the fans involved, to get the energy going, and as I mentioned, where we see where Steelers Nation is today, and one of the greatest things, and one of the things that, also, if you don't mind me saying this, so we had to go to San Diego for the last game of the football season, and if we won that game, this would be the first time in Steeler history that they won their division. And so the Steelers decided we're going to practice in Palm Springs. So we went out that week to practice in Palm Springs to get ready for the game in San Diego. And this one radio announcer, infamous guy named Myron Cope, saw Frank Sinatra in the restaurant and sent a note to Frank about Franco's Italian Army. And Frank came over to the table, and Myron mentioned to him about coming to practice the next day to meet me and join Franco's Italian Army. And Frank said he'll be there. So Myron got up and called Tony and called Al. In fact, he said, "You guys have to get on a plane and come out tomorrow. Frank Sinatra is coming to the Steelers practice." And these guys went nuts, right? It's like God, wow, Frank Sinatra. And so they flew out the next day, and they're waiting at practice, no Frank Sinatra. And all of a sudden, towards the end, Frank Sinatra shows up. And our coach stopped practice, and Tony Stagno and Al Vento brought out the wine. They brought out a helmet. They gave him an Army helmet. They poured some wine in glasses, and we toasted and inducted Frank Sinatra into Franco's Italian Army.
Wow, that is a great story. Great story. So you had Old Blue Eyes as one of your fans. That is fantastic.
And we went and won that game in San Diego, and then the next week we played the Raiders in Pittsburgh in the Immaculate Reception game, and after the game I received a telegram from Frank Sinatra congratulating, on the victory.
So can you tell us about that infamous Immaculate Reception play for those of us who don't know, those few of us that don't know about it?
The first-hand recollection from the field.
Well, this was the first playoff game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, no, this is the second playoff game ever in their 40-year history. And the first one they lost. And so this is the second game in 40 years in playoffs. And so this is a tough game, tough defensive game against the Oakland Raiders. And with about 2 minutes left, we're winning 6-0, just 2 field goals. And then with about a little bit, like a minute to go, Kenny Stabler from the Raiders did a kind of an incredible play himself, where the play broke down, and he scrambled about 30 yards or something like that, to score a touchdown for the Raiders. And that was an unbelievable play. And so the Raiders went ahead 7-6. And then we get the ball on the ensuing kickoff, and here it is, the whole game, we're winning. And we're, can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the whole game we're winning, as I said, 6-0. And then about with a minute something to go, the Raiders go ahead, and we're losing. And people are saying the Steelers found another way to lose. They never know how to win. And so we get the ball back. We're losing. So it gets down to 4th down, a long way to go. And as I'm going into the huddle, I tell myself, well, this will probably be the last play of the season. Play it to the end, Franco. And they call it passing play, which I'm not really part of. I'm just supposed to be in the backfield blocking. So they called the play 66 option. Now, back home in New Jersey, right, with my mother and my family back in Jersey. And my mother knows something is wrong. And my brothers my mom's not watching the game. My mom is in the kitchen drinking coffee. Doesn't know much about football, but she knew something is wrong. And so as the play happens, as I go into the huddle, I tell myself, it's been a good season. It's probably the last play. Play it to the end. And, it's probably the end of the season. And so when the ball is hiked, Bradshaw goes back and he's scrambling. And I'm telling myself, that voice in my head, Joe Paterno's voice is in my head that says, go downfield and remember, always go to the ball. So I leave the backfield. Bradshaw throws the ball, and that Joe Paterno's voice in my head of go to the ball, makes me turn and start taking steps to go to the ball. And before I know it, there was this big collision. And I remember nothing else. My mind,
except for Joe Paterno's voice in your head.
My mind is completely blank. And my first memory is stiff-arming Jimmy Warren, the Oakland Raider, stiff-arming him and going into the end zone. Now, back home in Jersey, my mom put on her Italian album because she knew something was wrong. And my brothers and sisters swear to this day that Ave Maria was playing when the play happened.
Yeah, okay. So that's how it got the name of Immaculate Reception then?
No. It happened at a bar. Okay. No, it was no connection.
Okay.
When at a bar, I can't remember the guy's name. Franco, that's terrible. Made a toast, and this is in Pittsburgh at a bar. He said, "This day will forever be known as the Feast of the Immaculate Reception."
Fantastic.
And his girlfriend called Myron Cope, the guy who approached Frank Sinatra, called Myron Cope and told him the story that, her boyfriend said, this would be known as the Feast of the Immaculate Reception. And Myron, being Jewish, was struggling with it, and he said, "What the heck?" And he threw it out over the airwaves, and the rest is history. 50 years later, it's voted the number one play in the history of NFL football.
That's absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, we have to end the interview right now because we're right to the end of our time.
Okay.
And I want to
Well, nice
thank you
talking
so much, Franco, for agreeing to come on to the show. Unfortunately, the hour is up. Big Ben ha detto stop. It's time.
Nice talking with you guys.
Nice
And
talking to
be
you
well.
too. Thank you so much.
And thanks for sharing my story with me.
Thank you so much, Franco. Thank you.
Okay.
Viviana, next week, who's going to be our guest?
We're going to have Sergei Fortin, the author of The House of Gucci, and Professor Salvatore Giardina from the Fashion Institute of Technology. So it will be all about fashion.
Okay, well, I want to remind any of you and our listening audience, if you've missed a prior episode, would like to listen to this episode again, please visit our website at www.istitutomondoitaliano.org and click on the Italian Radio Hour tab.
Vorremmo ringraziare i nostri ospiti, Sophie Minchili e Franco Harris, il nostro sponsor Istituto Mondo Italiano e la Boara per la Musica. Finally, before we leave, here is our trivia question for next week. What does non c'è due senza tre mean? Please send in your answers at the Italian Radio Hour at gmail.com.
If you're not living in the Pittsburgh area or might be out of town, remember you can catch us streaming live at khbradio.com every Thursday at 5 p.m. And be sure to like us on Instagram and Facebook at the Italian Radio Hour. Until next time, alla prossima! Ciao, ciao!
Ciao!
Ci sta cenogaro fulador e culirami con moja la via.
The Italian Radio Hour has been sponsored by Istituto Mondo Italiano.